That's a good.
Over here and over there. When I was young, we used to watch the Gaither Family Homecoming Christmas thing. It feels like we're all together in this tonight. We're so proud of the way that Clark continues to innovate and try new things, and he has landed this classic tale in the middle of Appalachia. So hopefully you're comfortable and ready to just really enjoy and engage with this remarkable production. Please welcome Clark Taylor.
Good evening.
Good evening,
everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here tonight. We're going to tell some stories and watch some lives and all that. Wait for you to get. We're glad to have you here. Some folks say that this here's story we're going to tell tonight is the second greatest story ever told. And I don't rightly know about that, but I do know it's a pretty good ghost story about Christmas. Set things off for everyone that the reason I think that we're doing this old ghost story tonight is to present to you all the ghost of an idea. And hope being that great treasure, I hope it don't put any of you folks out of sorts with yourselves, the season, any of us boys up here. And I think we all do that. That you're going to be haunted right pleasant tonight, and I think you're just all going to be all right. All right?
All right.
All right. Let's see now. We're going to get started here. Let me move my drinking water here just a little bit. This Tabitha done set it up, and I forgot to move it. Oh, well. We're going to start off with our book, chapter number 1, verses 1 through 13. Marley's Ghost. Broad is the road that leads to death, and thousands walk together there, but wisdom shows a narrow path with here and there a traveler. Now Marley was dead to begin with, folks. I just want everyone to understand that. The register of his burial was signed by the coroner, the county clerk. Scrooge himself signed it. Old Marley was deader than a doornail. Now, I want to tell you right off right now, I don't have of my own knowledge what they is particularly dead about a doornail. I'd think an old coffin nail, that'd be the deadest thing of iron to come off the blacksmith's forge. But the wisdom of our forefathers, our foremothers, and all the saints around us, they rely on those metaphors and similes, and so these unhallowed hands ain't going to touch it. On the country is R-U-I-N-T. It is rent. So oblige me when I repeat in saying that Marley was dead as a doornail. Y'all gonna be all right. Now, Scrooge knowed he was dead. Some people might ask that.
Was he dead?
He surely was. How could it be otherwise? I mean, he and Scrooge, they was partners for, well, I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, administrator, sole friend, and sole man at the funeral. I mean, he never painted old Marley's name out. Look, the sign's still up there. Scrooge and Marley Proprietors. That was the name of the company store at the mine. Scrooge and Marley. Now, folks, the mention of old Marley's funeral, that just brings me right back to that bone we was all gnawing on just a moment ago. Now, folks, it's got to be completely understood that Marley was dead. We got to know that. All right, because nothing wonderful is going to happen to this story I'm trying to tell you. I mean, if we did not know for certain in that play by Mr. Scotty, what's that play? We'll bring a lot. What was that play by Mr. Shakespeare? Everybody died in it. What was it?
Hamilton.
If Mr. Hamilton did not know his daddy was dead at the beginning of that there play, we wouldn't think any more about it of him turning up in his windy old castle at night than any other middle-aged man's pappy turning up in some breezy old holler like Chigger Ridge, for instance, just to confusticate his son's weak mind.
There was a man in ancient times, the Scriptures doth inform us, whose pomp and grandeur and whose crown was great and very new.
Friends, I want to tell you, he was a squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching old sinner. I mean, no folks down on hard times would implore that man to bestow a plug nickel on them. Little children didn't ask what o'clock it was. No man or woman once in his time inquired directions to such and such a place. Scrooge, I mean, even old Martha Rita's old stump-tailed, one-eared, three-legged, and nigh toothless, half-blind, but Scotty, what do they call that dog?
Lucky.
But old Lucky's nose worked right fine, and when that dog got a whiff of that man, it would drag poor Martha Rita across half the county to get away from him. It was like that dog knowed he was around, saying, "Ooh, it's better to have a blind eye than an evil eye, Martha Rita." But what did old Scrooge care? That was the very thing. He liked to edge his way on the crowded paths of life, warning all human kindness. Keep your distance. Once upon a time, in all the good old days of the year, do you know when that was? At Christmas Eve, folks. In Cherry Log, Georgia, it commenced to a snowing. In the deep, come on, you got your hymnals, y'all know this. All the winds made home. Snow kept falling, snow in the deepest winter, long. Y'all can see him right there, folks. There's old Scrooge sitting in his office now, winking them letters and numbers on his ledger, jumping, twitching it about. Now it's only about 3 o'clock on the town clock. It's quite dark already, and law me, it's cold. You wouldn't believe how cold it was. It was really cold, folks. I can't tell you. You might want to know how cold it was. It was so cold, folks, the milk cows were handing out popsicles. Now, Scrooge kept his eye on ledger and his other eye on his clerk, his new store clerk, who was busy making them numbers, trying to jump and dance as well. Now, Scrooge, he was keeping that eye on him. That poor clerk was in his miserable little room. It was so small, the mice and bugs were all hunchbacked, and the fire that Scrooge had going in his stove was pretty small chunk of it there, but the poor clerk's fire was so small. It was a dead lightning bug that put out more heat. So here they are. These two men, our heroes of the story. One that just gets waiting for Christmas to get going, and the other one waiting for Christmas to get gone. When our story begins with a knock at the door.
Who's there?
I'll go second. It's Scrooge's nephew, Fred. Now, old Scrooge, he got there, grabbed his jacket, put it on, and the door kept knocking while he was doing all this. I'm coming. Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge. God bless you. Hogwash. Christmas, hogwash. Uncle, you don't mean that, I'm sure. I do mean it, man. Christmas, I don't know what reason you got to be married. You're poor enough. Well, what reason you got to be so glum? You're rich enough. Oh, boy. No, now, don't be sour, Uncle. What else can I do? Living in this town of fools, full of Merry Christmas on there. Look, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If I had in my way. Every idiot with Merry Christmas on their lips gonna be taken out back with a branch off their own Christmas tree, ornaments and all, and given a whipping within an inch of their life. Uncle, nephew. You keep Christmas in your way and you just let me keep it in mine. Well, you don't keep it. Well, let me leave it alone now. A fat lot of good it's gonna do you. That's right, it's a fat lot of good it's ever done you. There's a lot of things that might have done me good, Uncle, that I ain't made a profit from, and I'll tell you this. Christmas is among the rest, but I have always thought of Christmas as a good time. It is a kind, generous, pleasant time. It's the only time I know of in the all year long, and men and women seem to open up their shut-up hearts free. They think of poor folks beneath them as if they're fellow passengers on the road to the grave, not just another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And so, Uncle, it ain't never put so much as the skin of a nickel in my pocket. I believe it's done me good. It's gonna do me good, and I say God bless it. Well, the clerk at the tank started clapping like he done seen himself a play by Mr. Shakespeare. It was Hamlet, Scotty, not Hamilton.
Right, yeah, that's right.
And Scrooge turned back to him and he said, "Let me hear one more clappity clap out of you. You gonna keep your Christmas by losing your job." Yeah, you're quite a powerful speaker, nephew. I don't doubt that you go down to Atlanta and run for governor. God knows they can use one better than the one they got right now. Don't be, I want you to have dinner with me and Sari tomorrow. I cannot believe what Scrooge said. Did you hear that? He said he would rather see him in, he went the whole length of that expression, folks, said he would see him in that place first. Why, Uncle? Come on. Why'd you get married to that woman? I fell in love. I love her so. Is that right? I'm sorry, nephew, I was wrong. You found something more full-headed than Christmas afternoon. No, Uncle, you never used that as an excuse before. Why are you bringing that up now? Good afternoon. I don't want anything from you. I don't need nothing. Why can't we just be friends? Afternoon. You are so stubborn that I have made the trial of Christmas, and I get to keep my Christmas humor till another year. So Merry Christmas, Uncle. Afternoon. Happy New Year. Get! His nephew left the room without an angry word, but he stopped to bestow the blessing of the season on the clerk who, cold as he was warmer than Scrooge. You know why? He returned it cordially. And Scrooge looked at those two men and said, there's another idiot, my clerk. Got $15 a week and all them mouths to feed, and that woman of his. He's talking about Merry Christmas. I done woke up and become king of crazy Love, Georgia. Now, this lunatic in letting Scrooge's nephew out, he let two other folks in. I said, oh my goodness, yeah, it was Philip and Patricia Porter. Now he's the new pastor, and his pregnant spouse. They packed up the pickup and came all the way down from Philadelphia to start practicing the preaching over in a brand new parish. That was the Pine Tree Presbytery. That's just down there below Panther Point. Possibly, folks, a more pleasant, portly pair of personages you would not perchance to pass upon. And here's my hand up with saying that that's about as alliterative as we're going to get this afternoon. All right. Because there they stood with their hats off in Scrooge's office. Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Yes, we have the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge and Mr. Marley. Mr. Marley is dead. He died 7 years ago this night. Well, with no doubt that his liberality is well represented in his surviving partner. Yeah, Mr. Scrooge, at this time of year, it is usually more than desirable that we make some slight provision to help the poor and destitute. They suffer so much this time of year, Mr. Scrooge, that there's just hundreds of them that are in need of common necessaries, and hundreds more they just in want of common comforts. There ain't no presents. What law me? Yes, there's plenty of presents. Is the work mill still going? Yes. I'm afraid to say that they are. Well, the orphan's home and the widow's home ain't been burnt down, has it? Why, you mean old snake ought to smite you clear to Sunday. Polly. Corinthians 13:5. They all busy, Mr. Scrooge. Well, that's good. I was afraid from what your woman said there, something happened to stop them in their useful course. I'm awful glad to hear that. Well, seeing as they scarce provide Christian cheer of mind or body to this multitude, there's a few of us in our congregation. We're trying to raise a fund to buy some meat, some drinks, and some kind of means of warmth for these folks. Do you know why we choose this time, Mr. Scrooge? No, I reckon you're about to tell me all about it. Go ahead, preacher. Yes, sir, I am, and I will. There's a time when abundance celebrates that want is keener than the butcher's knife. That's why. Can we put you down for anything? Nothing. Oh, you want to remain anonymous? I want to be left alone. You ask me what I wish, that's my answer. I don't make Merry Christmas. I can't afford to make all the people merry. I support them places you're talking about. They cost enough and those bad dogs gonna have to go there. What do you mean they can't go there? They'd rather die. Well, if they'd rather die, they better do it and decrease the population, one less mouth to feed. It ain't no business. Go sell your sermon somewhere else. To save his hope from Satan's power when he had gone astray, who died is comfort and love, joy. You're gonna want the whole day tomorrow, I reckon. It's all right with you, Mrs. Kris. It ain't all right. It ain't fair. I'll stop half a nickel for it. You'd think yourself ill-used, I reckon. You don't think me ill-used when I have to pay a whole day's wages for no work? Well, it's only once a year, Mrs. Scrooge. It's only once a year, Mrs. Scrooge. Oh, excuse me, man. I suppose you're going to want to have the whole day? You'd be here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed next morning. Now, the clerk promised that he would, and old Scrooge walked off with a growl. The office got closed up in a twinkle, and the clerk, with his wife's scarf wrapped around his neck, lit a rag for home. Old Scrooge just went home. Now, folks, I want to tell you that he lived in a house that once belonged to his deceased partner. What? It was so far back in the woods, you would not believe it. It was so far back that daylight had to get pumped into it. Or sneak up on it. Now, it's a fact, folks, that there weren't nothing particular about the knocker on old Scrooge's door, except it was large. And it's also a fact that Scrooge saw it morning, night, night and morning. Let's also Bear in mind that Scrooge had not sunk one thought on Marley since mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon. Then let anyone tell me, if they can, how it was that old Scrooge, having fit his key into the lock of the door, saw without it undergoing any time change at all, not a knocker, friends, Marley's face. There's Marley's face. They weren't ferocious or nothing. It looked at old Scrooge the way Marley used to look, with old spectacles on his forehead. And as Scrooge stared at this phenomenon, it became a knocker again. Old Scrooge said, "Oh, pish posh," and closed that door with a bang. The sound resounded through the house like thunder. Now Scrooge, he weren't a man to be frightened by no echoes. He walked through his hall, up the stairs, blowing his lantern out as he went. Darkness is cheating old Scrooge like that. But before he shut his big old heavy door, he went through all the rooms to make certain everything was all right. He had recollection of that face to desire that. He surely did, didn't he? Just, let's see here, that's the living room and the bedroom, everything looking like it ought to be. There's no one under the chair, no one under my table, no one in the fireplace, no one in his dressing gown. It was hanging in a right suspicious manner on the bedpost, I want to tell you folks. So, secured against surprise, he locked himself in. Double locked himself in. That weren't his custom. And he dressed for bed. Hogwash! My nightgown. Nightcap. He sat down at the chair to take his medicine. His stomach was feeling poorly. And he did that. His glance happened, friends, upon a bell. It was a disused bell. It had all dust over it on the mantle for some forgotten reason. It was with great astonishment and inexplicable dread that as he looked on that bell, it began to ring. It rung so soft for it barely made a sound, but soon, friends, it started ringing out wild like there was a bell going in every part of the house. This was succeeded by a clanking noise. Down below, like someone was dragging a chain over the floorboard. Now, Scrooge often heard that ghosts in haunted houses are often described as dragging chains. Boom came up the floorboards. It came coming up the stairs, coming straight towards his door. Somebody ain't gonna believe it. But his color changed, and when without a pause, it passed through the heavy door and into the room before his very eyes. Same face. Very same, folks. Old Marley in his boots, overalls, barn coat. The chain he carried was wrapped around his middle like a snake and consisted of cash boxes, keys, deeds, ledgers, and purses wrapped up in steel. But his body was transparent, so Scrooge, looking at it, could see straight through to those barn coat buttons behind. Now, Scrooge often had said that Marley had no bowels, but he did not believe it till now. Now, what you want with me? Much. Marley's voice, ain't no doubt about that. Who are you? Ask me who I was. All right, who are you then, you particular? In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe in me? I don't. Why, you doubt your senses? Because I've been feeling poorly lately and my stomach been making me see things. You might be no undigested bit of beef, a old piece of cheese, or old underdone potato. There's more gravy than the grave about you, whatever you is. And that ghost grabbed Scrooge around the collar and whipped him around like a dog. Woo! Man of the worldly mind, you believe in me now or not? I do. Why do the spirits walk the earth? Why do they come to me? Well, it's required of every man that the spirit within him walk among his fellow men and travel far and wide. If that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to walk the earth and witness what it can't share. But Michael said and turn to happiness. What you all chained up for? I'm wearing the chain that I forged in life. I made it, link by Lincoln, yard by yard. You don't recognize it, Ebenezer. Yours is twice as long and heavy as this 7 Christmas Eves ago. Woo! Jacob Marley, speak comfort to me. I ain't got none to give. I can't tell you what I was. I can't rest. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I can't linger anywhere. You was always a good man of business, Jacob. Business! Mankind was my business. Why did I walk through crowds of people with my eyes cast down and not lift them up to that blessed star that led the wise men through a poor abode? Was there no creature that could hear me? Hear me! I will, but don't be flowery on me. I'm here to warn you, you got yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. You've always been a good friend to me, Jacob. Thank you. Shut up! You're going to be visited by 3 spirits. Is that your chance and hope you was talking about? Yep. I don't think I won't do that. Now, after visit, you got a snowball's chance on the wood stove to escape my fate. Expect the first tonight when the bell tolls 1. Can't we just have them all at once and get it over with? No. Expect the second on the next night, the same hour, the third on the next when the last stroke of 12 ceases to vibrate. Look to see me no more and look for your own sake that you remember what has passed between us. Remember! Well, that ghost walked backward from Scrooge, and with every step it took, the window opened itself a little by little. So by the time the ghost reached it, it was wide open and floated out into the deep, grim night. Scrooge crept forward, desperate in his curiosity, folks. He looked out. The air was filled with phantoms, wandering hither and thither in restless haste, all of them chained up like Marley. One old ghost Scrooge recognized with a terrible iron-safe shackle, to his ankle, just a hollering and a crying, unable to help a poor widow woman and her starving baby. The misery with all of them, friends, was that they sought to interfere in human matters for good and lost that power forever. Scrooge closed the window. He ran to the door. It was double locked. The bolts undisturbed. He tried to say hogwash, and he stopped at the first syllable and went straight to bed without undressing and fell asleep right on the instant. All right, everybody all right? All right, y'all ain't scared. You ain't scared, are you? That's just an old ghost story. They don't hurt no one. Do you think Scrooge was scared? I think he was. All right, then. I'm tanked up, ready for nothing. Staff 2, verses 14 through 18. the first of the three spirits.
These fleeting charms of earth farewell, your springs of joy are dry. My soul now seeks another home, a brighter world on high. I'm a long time traveling here below. I'm a long time traveling away from home. I'm a long time traveling here below to lay this body down. I'm a long time traveling here below. I'm a long time traveling away from home. I'm a long time traveling here below to lay this body down.
Ah! When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark you wouldn't believe, folks, how dark it was. It was darker than a coal miner's black cat shadow in the bottom of a well. That's pretty dark. And right then and there, the clock rang out the quarter hours. Ah! Quarter past. Half past. Quarter to it. Yeah, it's the hour itself and no more. Hogwash, I tell you. Hogwash. Now, he said these words right when the hour bell sounded, which it now did with a deep, dull, hollow, melancholy. One. Light flashed in the room on the instant, and friends, the covers of his quilt were pulled aside, I'm telling you, by a hand. It was a strange figure, like a child. Yeah, not like a child, it like an old man, but the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there shot forth this bright, clear jet of light by which all this was visible. Allow me. You the spirit whose coming was foretold to me? Who and what are you? Christmas past. Long past. What business brings you here? My welfare. Can't help thinking nothing but a night of undisturbed rest would be better than that. I'm no ghost, I'm liable to fall. Grab hold of your hand and I won't. As they passed through the wall and they now stood on an open country road, the town of Cherry Log had completely vanished. Lord me, I remember this place. I was a boy here. Friends, he became aware of 1,000 odors floating through the air, and with each and every one of them 1,000 thoughts, hopes, cares, long, long forgotten. There ain't nothing on my cheek. Need a pimple. Come on, let's go. know the way I could walk it blindfold. Well, the little ghost told him he didn't think I was right for a man to have forgotten it for so many years. So on they walked, and the little ghost explained to him as they went that these things they're about to see were the shadows of things that had been, that they had no truck with them, and don't you go blaming him for it. And they stopped. It was a schoolhouse. The little ghost asked Scrooge if he knew that. He said he did. And he sobbed. They went in. It was a long, sad room, made sadder still, folks, by the long lines of desks. And at one of these, this poor boy was sitting reading a book by a pitiful fire. And Scrooge knelt down, and like John 13:5 in the gospel, he wept like a waterfall to see his poor, forgotten self long, long ago. Poor boy. I wish. No, it's too late now. There's nothing. There's a little boy in my window last night singing a Christmas carol. I wish I'd given him something so it's the back of my hand. The little girl said, let's see another Christmas. And the door opened, and it was a little girl. She's younger than the boy. And she came running into the room, and she threw her arms around him. She started calling him like, dear brother. Little fan, yes, I've come to bring you home. Dear brother, bring you home, and we're going to have the bestest Christmas time you've ever seen.
Way back in the hills, when a boy I was wonder, buried deep in her grave lies the one that I love. She was called from this earth, made you more precious than diamonds, more precious than gold.
She was always this delicate creature. Breath could have withered her. She had a large heart. She died, a young woman, his mother, trying to bring a little boy into the world. My nephew, Freddie. The ghost said, let's see another Christmas. And now stood before a familiar warehouse door. The little ghost asked Scrooge if he knowed it, and he said, no, man, I used to work here. They went in. At the sight of an old man in bib overalls and the most ill-fitting toupee you could ever see on the head, Scrooge called out in great excitement, oh my Lord, me, that Lester Fig alive again. Old Lester stood up and looked at the clock that pointed to 7 and adjusting his toupee, called out on the big old boy, "Hello now, Ebenezer Richie!" In came Scrooge's former younger self, accompanied by his fellow employees. Oh, Lord, me, that's Lester, that's Richie. Richie, we used to be all wild horses, couldn't pull us apart. We thick as thieves. Oh, Richie, dear. And old Lester Fig put his arms around them both and said, all right, boys, there's no more work tonight. It's Christmas Eve, Richie. Christmas Eve, Dick. Let's clear away, boys, and we're going to have lots of room storm here. Clear away. There was nothing they couldn't clear away or wouldn't clear away with old Lester Fig looking on. It was done in a moment. Everything was swept, the floor kept, the lamps trimmed, fuel heaped on the fire, and that warehouse was as warm, dry, snug, and bright a ballroom as one might desire to see on a winter's night. In came a trio of old elderly musicians, and they started tuning up like 50 stomach aches. And in came Miss Lester Fig, one vast substantial smile. And in came the 3 Miss Figs, oh pretty as pumpkins. In came the 6 young suitors whose hearts they had broken. In they all came, away they all went. Dances. And more dances, and there was roast ham and taters and pie and plenty of sipping drink to go. You know what I'm talking about, folks? Now, the great effect of the evening came, though, when that fiddle player struck up a tune and Lester Fig stood out to dance with his woman, Mrs. Fig. Then 2, 3, 20 pair of partners, folks who were not to be trifled with. They had a good deal of work coming out with them. Folks who would dance and had no intention of walking. But, Mrs. Fig, come on, girl. It's been snowing outside. The bell struck 10. This domestic ball broke up. Old Lester Fig and his wife each took their stations on either side of the door and shaking hands with each and every man, woman, and child as he or she went out, wished him or her a Merry Christmas. Y'all see old Scrooge over there? Oh, he's just dancing, a jigging, as happy as a child with new shoes. Now, why did that little ghost have to spoil everything and say that it did not think much of a man who spent so little money to make such silly folks so happy? And Scrooge took that little ghost by the face and said, "Small? No, it ain't that, Spirit, it ain't that. Don't you see he's got the power to make us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil? Now you say that his power lies in words and things so slight, insignificant, it's impossible to add and count them out. What then? It's the happiness. It's the happiness that makes it worth as if it were a fortune. Ain't nothing the matter with me. No. 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 I was just thinking of my store clerk now, that's all." The ghost said, "Let's see one more Christmas." Again, Scrooge saw himself older. He was older. He was a man in the prime of life. He was not alone. He sat by the side of a beautiful young girl in whose eyes there were tears that sparkled in the light that shone from the ghost of Christmas past.
Oh, don't you remember on the rocky mountain top when we sat side by side? Oh, then you promised to marry me and be no other one's bride, and be no other one's bride, my love, and be no other one's bride.
It matters little to you. Very little. Another idol has displaced me. If it can cheer and comfort you in the time to come as I would have tried to do, I got no just cause to grieve. Well, what idol has displaced you? A gold one. See, this is the way of the world. There's nothing that's so hard on as poverty, and there is nothing on which it professes to condemn and damn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth. You fear the world so much. Well, what then? If I've grown older and wiser, I'm not changed. I'm not changed toward you. Have I? Not in words. No, well, in what then? In a changed nature? An altered spirit and everything that made my love of worth or value to you? If you were free today, tomorrow, yesterday, can even I believe you would choose a dowerless girl? Lord, in choosing her, do I not know your repentance and regret would surely follow? Here, take this back. I release you with a full heart for the love of him you once were. She went and took me by the hand as we stood in the door, and the hurt word she said to me was to come back no more. Was to no more, I don't want to hear it. You shoot me no more. You take me back. You torture me no longer. He became aware of being completely exhausted. Friends, he had barely time to reel to his bed before he sank into a deep, heavy sleep. Boys, I think this is a good stopping place. Don't y'all? Don't. I tell you what, y'all go on. There's going to be some good things for y'all to eat still out there, and y'all enjoy that. And come on back in. We'll finish this old tale out. What do you say? All right. Woo!